saying goodbye to 2020 and starting 2021, and we are here. And we started this, and there are friends. It's so glad to feel that there are so many people with you. It's so glad to feel that sometimes I feel like I could make so much money. Actually, I would be a broker because I'm pretty I'm pretty like smart in talking and can convince people. I would be a broker. Probably I would earn much more money. And I sometimes like, why didn't I do that? And I realized, no, no, man, I earn so much connection, and I have so much people there. I have a support group, and it's so good to feel that there are people behind you, and yeah, and backing you.
Imagine Action Podcast.
Creando
Imagination.
comunità trasformative per il futuro.
Imagination podcast.
Social arts across borders. Livnot Kehilot
Crediamo che
Transformative Latid.
l'immaginazione.
Building transformative communities for future.
Nosotros creemos que la imaginación es el derecho
C'est le
universal.
podcast d'Imagination. Les arts
We
sociaux.
believe imagination is our universal right and regeneration is our collective responsibility. Welcome to Imagine Action Podcast. In this special episode, we're speaking with Gopal Aryal on theater for social healing in Nepal and his upcoming fundraising campaign.
I joined theater in the beginning, dreaming to be a famous actor in the industry, like movie or theater. Basically, theater training or acting training is the first step uh, to move into the movies and become famous. That's how most of the people think. That's how I thought when I started. And so while learning theater, in fact, just after I completed my 6 months course from Rashtriya in Nepal, the magic happened. Few Israelis people actually, just jumping into the class, and they were looking for a theater school in Nepal, and then they were working in rural communities and or also urban communities, but for more marginalized people and children. So we got to know each other, and we were few students there, and they asked if we could collaborate with, if one of us would collaborate with them to help children learn theater. And then that's how I started my art knowledge to use in for the social cause for the community. So and then I worked that for like with the organization for 6 years, working with children, women, and youth, young youths mainly, 6 and 17, 18. So and then I work with other organizations on psychosocial support program, empowerment. And at some point, I enjoyed it more. And at some point, I thought my dream, which I had before, went completely a different path. It was left somewhere. So I left the dream what I had when I started actually, and this new dream emerged, and that's how I started like thinking more about using my art energy and knowledge for a purpose, for a community purpose, for a social purpose, and for a betterment of the society, yeah, and the culture. So yes, and I was working with some NGOs, and I quit the job. And just before quitting the job, I traveled to Africa that was my first international travel actually, if I don't count India because we have open border. And then I met people from completely different culture, and completely different energy than I was living in Nepal. And it was beautiful on the side of the sea, side of the ocean, actually, Atlantic Ocean. And then that 7 days in Mboro in Senegal, and the other few previous days before Mboro were so beautiful, and I got chance to learn and experience so much new things. And actually, we dreamed together there with 30 other people, and I was only the Asian, I guess, in a collective dream that we want to create something actually all over the world. But then because we were there, so we thought what we could do in our places, and we dreamt of having a center in Nepal. And because being one person, a person from a landlocked country, an Asian, so if I could experience so much different and learn so much, get motivated so much, and energized so much from that experience in Africa, and there it is the same way. There are possibilities, and that other people, if they travel to Nepal and be the same opportunity, have the same opportunity to live or stay in a mountain, in the middle of mountain of Nepal, and join a residential workshop, could be a life-changing experience like I had in Africa. So actually, when I first dreamed this, I didn't dream it for myself. The dream was ours, but also it is for the other people who are not, doesn't really have experience of being in Nepal and practicing art or theater in Nepal. So because that's what I thought, it could be life changing for the people from other places to be here and experience this. But at the same time, it is exchange. It is exchange of energy. It is exchange of culture. It is exchange of knowledge and so much. So at the same time, when we exchange, we both learn and we both grow together. So this place is a dream place to exchange, to grow together, to be there. So that's how it just came. And ICSD is a bit different, because when I started ICSD Nepal, the full form is International Center for Social Theater Nepal, was the name. Actually, in the very beginning, I thought about the center. And actually, this turned into the theater company, and that the office was in Kathmandu. And we got a lot of work with UN agencies and bigger organization, and on many issues like psychosocial support, the safe construction awareness, emergency preparedness, and early childhood cases, and so behavioral changes. So we got these projects with so many organizations from this company, ICSD Nepal, from which we worked socially. At the same time, we made some money, and that's how we could start this Lukeko Gaun Center later. So yeah, they're different, but they're not different. They're very connected. They're same.
And I remember very much. So I met Gopal 10 years ago. I was volunteering in the same organization that he was working on with Tevel Betzedek, Israeli nonprofit. And I was doing theater of the oppressed, teaching theater of the oppressed as a volunteer for volunteers and the staff and some of the projects. And Gopal was assigned to me as my translator, guide slash teacher of Nepali. And yeah, it was very life changing. It was just meeting Gopal, meeting Nepal was absolutely life changing for me. You started ICSD, you were working, uh, doing theater projects. I know a lot of the projects were following the earthquake, so working with people affected by there was a big earthquake at the time.
2015 it was.
2015, yeah. And 2016, there was an earthquake in Italy, and we brought Gopal to exchange with us after the big earthquake in central Italy. And I would like to hear more about like what have been the challenges throughout. What is the challenges or frustration that you have met building the organization, building your skill, but also right now in building the center?
Well, it is my first experience having a company or an organization and leading it myself. In the earthquake time, just after the earthquake, actually, the ICSD did not exist. Um, and I was working with an Israeli organization called Israel, and that was actually the big challenge that we were taking an entertainment stuff to the community people who were hungry, who didn't have food, and who didn't have a roof to sleep under. And after this, the ICSD was by the time I came to Italy in 2016 December, I was still working in Israel. So, and while founding this International Center for Social Theater, ICSD Nepal was actually not very challenging. The challenge was only that I was to find the fund, to find the work, and collaborations with organizations who could find a right and good issue, and also who could fund a good amount of money for us to survive. In fact, so that was the big challenge, and I had to wait in October. I had to wait like 7 months. For the 8 months, I opened an office in the same building I'm sitting here now. So only after that we got some work, and we created some work. We collaborated with organizations. We collaborated with some friends. We did one mountain dreaming international a residential workshop, and we also was one of the co-facilitator. And then with that work, we made a pretty good income, and then we bought this land because we needed a bigger space. We didn't want to squeeze ourselves inside a single room in the urban Kathmandu city. So we wanted to go close to the nature, having a big space to walk, to run, to play. So we decided to buy this piece of land in the village, and started creating this center. And apparently there was no projects. We didn't get any projects, and there was no money. Uh, we tried. Well, there were a few volunteers came there to help us, but then because the volunteers were just volunteers, we didn't have expertise to create the things. So and at some point, while trying to create the center, the things in the village, I lost the communication and the follow up with people that we were working in Kathmandu before. And that is also, I think, one part of the reason that we didn't get more work afterwards. As soon as we bought the land, we jumped into the area, and we started creating. Let's go, and I forgot everything behind actually. And lately, since actually it's not just new that we're doing crowdfunding now. It sounds like 5 months, 1 year after lockdown. Actually, it's been already 1 year and a half. 1.5 year, I guess, has been very, very frustrating. Not finding out the resource, not finding out the finance support, and and actually, I never in the beginning, I never dreamt, never thought of raising fund to create the center in the beginning. I was completely thinking that I'm going to make money via this organization, through this organization, and I'm going to invest on it, and then make at least ready some part of it ready to host like 20, 30 people to do some like residencies program, and then we can keep creating. That's what I was thinking. That's what I thought actually. But then I couldn't make money. So yeah, and then because I was not thinking about other ways, so it was very frustrating. For actually, in last 2 months or 3 months, I thought many times actually I should probably just leave the country. It is also because the political situation here is also very frustrating, man. So that is also the reason that it affects, like everything affects other things. But keep having patience, and keep having motivation is very, very, very challenging, and that's what I'm going through for like more than a year actually.
Uh, when you shared that you were going to people with theater, people who were hungry, people who didn't have home, and it just kind of got stuck in my head because I faced the exact same problem in India when I because I work in rural areas and I go to these people and I'm like, this is what I have to offer. And these people say, but we don't have enough money to survive. We don't have food. We don't have 2 meals a day. We can't have 2 meals a day. How what do I do with your offering? And this is also a dilemma that while fundraising, this also is a very big challenge that how do you convince people or how do you articulate that not that you don't have to have a very urgent need to fulfill. Like theater is a very far-fetched dream. It takes time. It takes time to build. It takes time to give people skill. If I'm working with children, it will take years for those children to build the resistance and build the energy and get confidence or whatever I'm trying to give them. It takes time. There is no very visible outcome. It takes its own time. It's not urgent. How do you convince people to give money for an urgent need?
So how did it start? Was let me tell you how did it start. So first, the earthquake happened on the no 25th of April 2015. So and then I was also one of the survivors because I was inside the house and I had a whole story that I skipped. Um, Fortunately, the house didn't fall, but it was terrifying and it was really like so. And then there were so many organizations came into Nepal. So many countries representative came to Nepal with a lot of economical support, tents, food, uh, and small groups also gathered, and they were all collecting the tents and foods and noodles and junk foods and blah blah. So they were all taking this as a, how do you say, they were taking all this support to the communities. And on the ninth day, I think we started thinking about this, and because we see so many people are crying, and it's kind of like they're in trauma, and really deep trauma. Some of them, and they're not even being able to cry actually because don't know who to talk, where to go, and they're not being able to smile, and they're not being able to cry. So what they need is try to normalize the situation. One thing, because this happened, this already happened, and there is life further. So that was very important to advocate in a way that there is life, and now this is the new normal. You know, after after because they lost their family members, a lot of stuff, and many people were not able to realize that situation. So we thought, how can we do that? Like psychosocial support, and then we thought, okay, art is the best mean to take therapy, take psychosocial support to the community. So what we had was theater, and they had me and everybody who were in Kathmandu who had house outside the valley. They left. They have left the Kathmandu and they have been to their own houses, which were because to be safe, to be safe from the earthquake, because the earthquake was like coming continuously every day, like minimum 26 a day, something like that, like for like 15 days or 20 days a month, something like that. It was too long. So people, and because and a lot of theater artists, they're here, they come from outside the valley, and they do theater here. So they were in their house outside the valley, and it was pretty difficult to find artists who were living here. And we could collect like 6 artists, 7 artists, and including me, we are 8. We had one French actress too, actually, who were living couch surfing with us by then. And and then we just started creating. I mean, putting the stories that we collected while traveling in the affected area during the medical camp and the rescue. So those stories we put on the play, and then we created like 45 minutes long play. Actually, that was pretty long. And in the beginning, as you said, it was very difficult to believe that it will help people, and people will take it positively and will not be kicked out from the villages. You know, so it was very difficult to believe that, but we dared anyway, and the play was ready. Okay, so in a week or 10 days, the play was ready. And I was like, okay, the play is ready, and this is the play. Should we really take this to the community? In the villages, what happens if they just come up with, how do I say that? If they come up with some kind of like words and, and beat us and, ask us to leave the village. What happens if it happens? So, and then we thought, we decided to do a trial performance inside the valley. It's called Narayan Chor now, and it's a kind of like small park where the earthquake survivors were sleeping at night, and in the tents. There were tents. Kind of, it's like a camp of survivors, earthquake survivors. And they were cooking and eating in their houses, but they were sleeping, and most of the time they were staying in that garden, in that area, in that camp. So then, okay, let's do a trial there, and we did the performance, and the play was about basically, the stories, all the earthquake scenes, the stories, and it is not only one family, one person have been through this. It's there are so many people are facing the same problem, and at this moment we need people to talk to. We need people to listen our emotions, So and also about releasing our pain, emotional wounds. So these stuff were basically incorporated in the play. So we performed this play in this survival camp, earthquake survivors camp in Kathmandu. And after the play, I asked the same question. Like exactly, I asked the same way I was thinking to the audience. Hey people, did you like the play? Yes. Do you think it helps you or helps the earthquake survivors in some way? Because there are so many people taking this kind of support, And we are the stupid one taking a theater play to the community for the earthquake survivors. Do you think we should take this to the villages? Do you suggest us to do that? I simply ask the complete thought I had for the past 10, 15 days. And almost all the people raised hand and said yes. And many people didn't speak, and that was okay. And at the same time, I heard a very loud sound saying yes, but in like, um, how do you say, in a emotional way. And I looked at the person. It was a lady. It was a lady holding a children. Uh, and I went close to her and I asked her, "Why do you think so? Why should we take this play? How does it help to people? How do you think it helps?" And then she cried and she said she lost her sister in that earthquake. And then this play made her realize that it's not only her losing a family member. There are so many people going through the same situation. And it is important for people to understand this. And even if we lost our family members, we cannot just jump in and die. We should live. There is hope. There is life. And please take this to the villages. It is very important. That's what she said. And she was crying while saying this. So and that was only actually our trial show. And then the next day we moved to Nuakot, the rural community, rural village in Nuakot district, which is north of Kathmandu Valley. So, but when we travel with therapists also. So let's say 2-3 therapists would go with us with the theater group together, and then we perform the play. And because after performing the play, we would talk with the audience, and after the play, because they would listen in the crowd, they come together, they listen. So we would ask them to separate, like by like men in a group, and there is a one women group and a one children group. So and each therapist that we had would do a group counseling with each group, you know. So that was the process. That was the method that we applied by them. And actually, from that day, this lady said, "How did it help? How did this play help her to understand that?" And brought her hope. And from that day, actually, I realized for myself how important it is to work on the psychosocial support and work on the, you know, emotional healing the emotional wounds. So, and actually from that day, I started working on this. And Italy in December, Uri in 2016 was like 1.5 years after that.
I feel there is so much, richness. I also felt that when we were, had the chance and we did some fundraising to bring you to Italy, because I feel that this whole experience that you had in the earthquake is actually very valuable. Could be very valuable for maybe not only for earthquakes. I feel, as you were talking, I thought, I was thinking about COVID and I was thinking about the ecological disasters that we're facing more and more. And so I was thinking about how what you experience, in after earthquake can be valuable to so many situations, and how we are in a way have been facing and continue to be facing with this loss due to crisis, and unfortunately it seems that we're going to deal more with that in the future. And I feel, it's very valuable for us to learn about this and exchange about this. So it seems like the problems are more practical. And it's how to bridge that, how to make sense, and really say, you know, no, this has sense, this is important. And for me to be able to rebuild my life practically, I need to be able to rebuild my emotional landscape, you know. And that theater is a way to do it, you know, that psychology is one way to do it and theater is another way to do it. And I know that you have been developing and working with this theater for social healing. And we're a little bit over our scheduled time, but I actually want to challenge you and to bring, like, how is that experience connecting with the vision of Loku Gokan? Like, what brings you to connect this to this? Like, how this experience of psychosocial support brings you to, you know, invest your own money, take a loan, ask people for money to build a center, and what's the connection for you?
I would probably not do this Lukeko Gaun actually if I would not experience the earthquake, and if I would not know what is emotional wound is, and if I would not know that we all have wounds inside us, and if I would not know that those wounds should be healed and can be healed. So, because now I know, and that is why this Lukeko Gaun is ongoing. And we need a place. We need place close to the nature. And there is no other way actually. We are part of nature. There is no other way ultimately going back to the nature. And that's only the ultimate way. So and this place should be a place to heal ourselves. Um, uh, you know, in many ways, by sharing, by learning, by listening, by giving, by receiving, and by letting go. So, and this all, so this place is for all of this. So, and for all of us, for that. So that actually it's that's why it is very connected. I wouldn't do this if I wouldn't know, if I wouldn't experience this all. And thank you for asking this question. I really reconnect. I mean, really connect with this question because I really feel it.
Yeah, so I feel at this point also to invite people listening or watching. So we started a campaign. It's not the first campaign with the Loku Gokan. So Gopal, as he was sharing, got a place for all of us and building it, facing on difficulties also with nature, landslide and monsoon and working in the land and and I also hear this thing that you said before, the paradox, right? The paradox of this kind of going back, needing to go back to nature, and then the difficulty to maintain work, because the city is where the relationship are that are necessary to get the work. So how, and I feel this is a situation that is not just in Nepal, it's everywhere, you know, there is a paradox. People maybe want to go to the nature where it's, I know in Italy it's empty, like the villages are getting empty. There are beautiful stone villages in extremely fertile land that they become deserted because young people go
So
to the city. And what I'm trying to say is, how can we, and this is like the challenge that I put to the people listening and us here, is how can we create a new kind of economy that favors this lifestyle, this choices that we know that this is what we need to survive also, because we need the trees, we cannot all concentrate, because when I remember in Kathmandu, when I came in, it was shocking for me, the color and the smell of the river that goes through Kathmandu, and knowing and listening from people that that was not the case 10 years ago, even. That or 20 years ago, it was pure as water, as pure mountain, and now it's black. So it's very, very viscerous, but something is not working. How do we build a new system?
Let me put myself into creating this place completely in there, and I would happily do this. And you work, make economy, because you need it, and also go back to the nature. I mean, come back to the nature. Come to Lukeko Gaun. Go to Lukeko Gaun. Send your friends to Lukeko Gaun. Or there are others Lukeko Gaun in the world. Go back there sometime. Sometime, not all the time, because, So that's one thing. Uh, it is difficult to go back to the nature and also work with, find a way of economy. So we have some plans for the future after we create this, because even in the family, each of us have some responsibility towards the family. Some of us has financial, some of us has other responsibility. So Lukeko Gaon is a place, a house for a family, a global family. So we all have responsibility. We will take responsibility. Whoever comes visit will put some effort in it. So that will help us, the center, survive and continue in the future. Now we are in a situation to save it, not let it go, because of this economic modern economic system, and they have converted everything else into the currency, and that is a bit difficult. When I think about it, I get frustrated actually. So for the future, and environment is very important. And as you said, we are having also the natural like issues like the landslide in the monsoon and other things. I agree we have, and actually we are actually very much suffering from that. But I'm not so much angry, and I'm not so much sad with nature, because nature has to take care of herself. And actually, I'm happy that she does. It is because us, we made the road. I mean, it's a main road. They just made a new track of the main road from the bottom part of the Lukeko land. It is the rural government, local government. They did it, and because of that, um, there was no other option, because it has to go down. That's the law of nature. You know. So anyway, it's in some years, nature will recover herself. The earth will recover herself for sure if we let her recover, and we should do that. That's for me not a problem. I accept what comes from the nature. We're not just having a place there. We're also serving ourselves. We're serving. Intending to serve people. We're intending to serve nature and the earth at the same time, and collaborating with community, collaborating with local schools around, and planning to bring children in our working plan. And just like before we did in Tebel Betejek, Uri, again we can start like bringing volunteers who would like to work with children in the future, and we can help them collaborate with schools and they can play with children. That's the best experience a young adult man can have, playing with children in communities like ours. So yeah, those are you know the benefits that we can have from supporting and creating this Lukeko Gaun Center.
But I just saying to the people, I hope we can get it out this weekend, also because the crowdfunding is still running until Monday. If we don't achieve the goal on this time, we will do another one. We will not give up. So you can have your chance to support and be part. So one of the things that we wrote on the campaign is save Lukeko Gaun, join a village. So supporting with an amount, you can also become part of the village. And we think about doing gatherings also online, exchanging knowledge, exchanging skills. And then Gopal is offering free stay for people donating. So I first of all, I thank Gopal for this conversation, and also Vandana. I don't know if you want to add something from your side. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for talking about your beautiful experience that you had with people. And I think this is personally for me, it was the first time that I finally have words to articulate why theater is also an urgent need. And yeah, so thank you so much for sharing your experience.
Thank you. That's really a big compliment, Bandanaji, and thank you for that. And Uri, thank you for inviting for the interview. And there is hope and there is life. So let's hope. Let's not lose it, and we're gonna make it for sure. And if not today, tomorrow, but it will happen, and it is there.
לבנות קהילות
Crediamo che
טרנספורמטיביות לעתיד.
l'immaginazione,
Building transformative communities for future.
nosotros creemos que la imaginación es el derecho
C'est le
universal.
podcast d'Imagination.
I'd like to see the way that how we as activists, artists, creators, curators, whatever we do that brings art and value and peace and awareness, how we can bring something different. And that's what I'm talking about, at these big policy kind of meetings which we're excluded from. Is there a way to, for people to be more creative within those kind of areas of policy and just that's what I would love to. That's the vision, is to see this embedded into the fabric of everyday life.
We believe imagination is our universal right and regeneration is our collective responsibility. If you like the podcast, like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Support me in making the podcast on Ko-fi/ImaginAction. Subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, Google Podcast, and Apple Podcast. And stay tuned for the next